Okay, so before we begin, actually, I do want to do a bit of a land acknowledgement. I think it's really important for us to acknowledge the land that we are on. So if you'll just join me. We wish to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities of this region and recognize that this event is situated on the traditional homelands of the Nuwuvi Southern Paiute people. We offer gratitude for the land itself, for those who have stewarded it for generations, and for the opportunity to study, learn, work, and be in community with this land. I encourage everyone in this space to engage in continued learning about the indigenous peoples who work and live on this land since time immemorial and about the historical and present realities of colonialism. And now here's what I'm going to need from you. You already know the last one because I just said it before, but I encourage you to really dig deep and find your trust and honesty. Not so much for me, I mean, I would love that, but more so within yourself. The more honest you are within yourself with the feelings that pop up, the questions that I ask you, the more you're going to take away from this presentation today. So try your hardest, okay? Secondly, I want us to take off the judgy glasses, and we're going to put on curiosity glasses. And what this means is a lot of times when we hear information that might confront belief systems or things that we've learned in the past, we get a different feelings. Some of us feel defensive, like, oh, I can't believe she said that. Or we feel like, oh shit, I can't believe I do that. And we feel bad. But the thing is, we can't move forward if we're just feeling bad about ourselves. It's just adding shame on top of shame on top of shame, and nothing happens. But if we can approach it with a sense of curiosity, that means asking questions. Instead of saying, I can't believe I do that, I want you to say, I wonder why I do that, and get curious about the process. Does that sound good? All right, perfect. Also, we already talked about this, but do take notes and jot down any questions you have for the Q&A at the end. I'm going to try to leave some time. If you don't have paper, though, I did notice by the water station at the back, there is paper and pens, like little notepads. So if you want to grab that, you can. Okay, let's get into it now, finally, geez. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to 2014, and this was my first personal experience with Boudoir. And I was going for my first shoot. I mean, back in 2014 in Winnipeg, really the only way you could have photos of yourself as a solo female was either headshots, boudoir. And I didn't really know what boudoir was at the time, but I was like, cool, this looks fun. You get to play dress up. Love that. And I found somebody whose work I loved. I didn't see myself represented on their website, but I was like, you know what, just give it a go. So I contacted the photographer. I got the prep guide, where to shop, so I got really excited. As you can imagine, again, Winnipeg's a small town city if nobody knows where it is. I went shopping, and again, I was a little disappointed because my body is not really represented in a lot of lingerie shops. And so I was a little put off, but I still found some cool. Sequin goes a long way, so we'll take it. And I showed up to the photo shoot, and I was super excited, but also nervous, kind of like I am today, if I'm being honest. And it was great, actually. I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, I'm doing the thing, the scary thing. I crossed the threshold to challenge myself, and it was fantastic. I don't really remember specifically what we did, but I do remember there was a lot of arching, there was a lot of toe pointing, and definitely my back hurt the next day. And I remember leaving feeling the sense of empowerment that I had just done this incredible thing for myself. I was on the bus ride home, and I was like making eyes at the people on the bus, like, do you know? You don't know what's in here. But I knew, and that was important. 3 weeks later, I got the email from my photographer, your photos are ready. And I'm super jazzed, but also nervous, because that's what happens. And I start going through the images. And I'm like, well, these are nice. I mean, they're pretty, but scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, there was very few photos that showed anything below my waist. They were all headshots. And for somebody that didn't want headshots, I was shocked. But it wasn't uncommon, and I don't blame my photographer because she was doing what a lot of us do. And I don't think it was malicious. I mean, we had a really good time. She hyped me up. I left feeling empowered. But seeing the images brought me right back down to earth, because the reality is I didn't have a problem with my stomach until I didn't see it represented in my images that I had paid for. I realized then that, that's not quite right. So as I tell people, when something pisses me off, I do something about it. So I just started looking around at the photography industry as a whole, and I realized, because at that time I was shooting weddings and families, not really boudoir yet, and I realized if people were photographing bodies like mine, they were not showing it, and that was the problem. So I'm gonna ask you now, do you believe that all bodies deserve to be photographed? Put up your hand. Yes, amazing. I mean, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here if you know me, so. The thing, we do believe and know that all bodies are worthy of being documented, but only a fraction of them are being shown. And this is because our biases and beliefs get in the way of what we believe beauty to mean. This places conditions around our understanding of worthiness about who can do boudoir, first of all, and what they look like when they do it. But we as photographers can change this, and I see it in action, and it's so cool. So originally preparing for this presentation, oh yeah, I'm gonna show them these stats that I pulled up in 2016, and I'm gonna tell them, like, this is terrible. So when I was creating the first plus-size boudoir guide, essentially in 2016, Confident Curve, I legitimately surveyed 100 websites just to see what was the bodies we were seeing. At that time, only 15% had one visibly plus-size body, and of those 15, only 5 had more than 5 bodies. So at first I was like, womp, that's sad. But then I was like, well, this is a new talk, so maybe, and 6 changed. So I'm pleased to say that since 2016, now in 2022, 77% of 100 new websites showcase at least one visibly plus-size body, and 20 of those showing 5 or more. And this is incredible because this tells me that change is possible. But we still have a very long way to go, which again is why you're here. So I want to thank you all for being here with me today, because it is going to be a little confrontational for you maybe, but we're all in it together, okay? So I want you all to close your eyes, and I have Jill, my momager, over there, so she's going to check and make sure your eyes are actually closed. She's not really, but anyways. So I'm going to describe a scene to you, and I want you to just pay attention to the image that populates in your head, okay? All right, so yesterday I had a client come in for their photo shoot. They undressed and put on their outfit, and they stood in front of me ready to do the shoot. And they were a little nervous, but super excited. What does my client look like in your mind? So you can open your eyes. And now hands up if you pictured any of these. In your mind's eye, did you picture someone that was Caucasian? Hands up if you did. Be honest. This is the honesty part, people. Come on. Did you picture somebody that was between the ages, about 25 to 35, the mid-range kind of thing? Come on. All right, blonde or brunette with long hair, no short haircuts? Come on, you don't get cookies for being, progressive. Somebody that was able-bodied. Come on, there's got to be a lot of hands up for this one. There's definitely lacking representation there. What about someone that fits approximately a size 4 to 8, but we know women's sizing is bullshit, but you get the point. Right? Come on. All right, a full face of makeup? Perfect. And black or red traditional lingerie? That's the wild one, right? Like, what? How did we all think of that? Well, the thing is, most of you probably didn't picture any of these beautiful humans. You probably didn't picture beautiful plus-size black woman, a black trans woman, a plus-size Asian man, a Caucasian trans man, a plus-size woman with short hair, a non-binary person with a disability, a mature gentleman with a disability, or a thin black woman with a circulatory disorder, as well as impaired vision. Did anybody picture any of these? You did? You still don't get points, but good job. You're doing better. But it's no surprise when most of us grew up with continued representation of bodies like this. And it's not to say, again, that anything was bad. It's just what it was. We can't go back and change it, but we can go forward. I remember being a little girl in my house with my sister, and we would literally, from the age of probably 7 or 8, go under the basement stairs and peer at my dad's Playboy magazines. From then, it became Victoria's Secret's catalogs. Fredericks of Hollywood's catalogs. I wasn't ordering these at 8 years old, by the way. this was like coming to the house. But then online advertising and then social media happened. And these standard bodies were the ones that we kept seeing. And it's not that there's anything wrong with these bodies, because these bodies are also beautiful. But when these are the only bodies that we're seeing, it does something a little tricky to our brain. And that's what I want to share with you today. Because if we can understand our brain, we can use it to our advantage. So first of all, let's talk about what a body image bias is. It's the unconscious or conscious thought, hopefully not conscious, but some people, we have about people and their assumed abilities, behaviors, and personalities. They're developed from the beginning of our lives and confirmed by the body image beliefs of our peers, our parents, our caretakers, and the media that we surround ourselves with. As we get older, our body image biases are further created through consistent representation. So as we scroll through our Instagram feeds and our TikToks and all that good stuff, and Pinterest, we see these representations of certain stereotypes and reinforced by beliefs. Now, we do have biases about pretty much everything. For the sake of this talk, I'm going to be focusing specifically on size bias, but we also have to be aware of race bias, age bias, ability bias. There's so many different things we have to make ourselves aware of. So what is happening in our brain? And we're going to get a little geeky here, but I'll try to keep it as topical as possible. Donald O'Hebb was a Canadian psychologist who essentially coined this phrase, when two neurons fire together, they wire together. Our brain is constantly shooting out neurons all the time, but our brain, for the sake of evolution, loves to be efficient. So what happens is when it sees the same thing and feels the same thing each time, it's like, oh shit, let's just put those things together. Because then that way, it'll be easier for me to get that information. Does that make sense? For the most part, I'll show you. So if we think about the representations of bodies that we see from the time that we are very little, we can see the impact that they might have. The first time as a child, we see a fat body represented as the joke. Our brain fires two neurons. One says fat body, the second one says humiliation. Nothing happens. It's just like, cool, two neurons. It takes a bit of moment. It's like, what's happening? It's a little confusing. But with repetitive processing of that information, every time those neurons get closer and closer and closer together. And the more we see fat bodies represented in this specific way, this is going to be us basically putting together that fat bodies are bad because they are the joke. Nobody wants to be the joke. Humiliation literally registers the same in your brain as physical pain. So when we see that happening, it is our evolutionary bias to say, oh shit, don't want to feel like that, because we don't want to be ousted from the tribe. And then if we look at the comparison of thin bodies in children's shows, thin bodies get the thing at the end. They get the goal. They're successful. They win the love. And for men, it's not so much about thinness. It's actually about muscular, right? Fit. Fit is not a body type, by the way, but that's a whole other talk. But essentially what this is doing, this is creating these pathways that says fat is bad, thin is good. And even if we all know on a conscious level, we're like, no, all bodies are good. Your subconscious still believes this. My subconscious still believes this, even though I teach this stuff. It's just hardwiring, and we can work against it. A study in 2017 found that 84% of the top grossing movies promoted weight stigma. So this is kids shows. I'm that aunt, though I don't have kids of my own, but I'm the aunt that when I'm watching shows with my nieces and nephews, I'll pause it when they're making fun of a fat person. I'll be like, why isn't that funny? What's happening? Yep, okay, and you can see them. This is the crazy part, though. They were like 5-ish, like 5, 3, and 7, and you could see them know that something was uncomfortable, but they didn't know what because they hadn't learned exactly what the words were. But I could see my nephew be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right? But it's important we have those conversations with our kids. What are you watching? Why do we think it's funny to laugh at somebody that looks like that? And get them to start critically thinking. Another study published in the International Journal of Eating Disorders showed that 58.3% of kids' shows contain some kind of negative comment, like purposefully, or incident related to a character's weight or appearance. So every time children watch shows, including us, we were kids once, I think, every time we watch shows, movies, TV shows, the representation gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So when we see something that contradicts that representation, Our brain's like, wait, whoa, this is wrong. And it feels uncomfortable, which we then interpret as bad. Which is why this ensures negative body image biases for everyone, but it increases the body oppression for those existing in fat bodies. I'm going to reiterate this towards the end. Everyone has body image insecurities. Like, who has body image insecurities in any capacity? Just a little bit. Yep, pretty much everyone, right? That's wild. Doesn't that tell us that it can't be about the bodies? Because look at all these beautiful bodies out here, right? So there's something that we could do. In 2018, I did a project. Okay, to be fair, this was a bit of a vanity project. I had billboard on my bucket list for years, and I was like, I'm going to put a billboard up just for fun. But then they were like, well, you need to have it say something or do something. And I was like, oh, okay, what do I want? If I had a billboard, what would I say to the world? And at that point, it was leading up to summer, so I wanted people in my city to know that your body's already a beach body. Just go, don't worry about it. And at first, I was like, cool, look at me, I'm in front of a billboard that I made, super. But the news picked it up. They were like, this is revolutionary. We've never seen bodies like this. What, you mean happy fat people? We do exist. We just haven't seen it before. And so it shouldn't have been news, but it was. And we all experienced this. I remember being in Vancouver and seeing a plus-size woman wearing a crop top, and I was like, yes, you look amazing. You know how we do, And she was like, yes, thank you, oh my God. But then afterwards, I was like, would I have done that if there was like a man that was shirtless, regardless what his body looked like? No. I wouldn't have been like, yes, King, you look amazing, because it's normal. We've seen men with their shirts off in all different shapes and sizes from the time that we were little. So it's not celebration and it's not vilified, it's just normal because of the representation we see. Does that make sense to everyone? I ask that question a lot, just FYI. I've been told not to say that, but I do. So I'm going to get you to do a little homework. I want you to chat with the person next to you. Talk about what representations of bodies like yours, so the person on your left, if you're wondering, this way. And if you're on the end or you don't have somebody, talk to the person behind you. And I want you to discuss how the representation of bodies like yours has impacted your body image. How has it affected your self-esteem? And more importantly, how does it affect you getting in front of the camera? All right? I'm going to give you a few minutes. When I'm ready for you to come back, I'm simply going to put up my hand, and then you're all going to get quiet. Okay? Ready, go. Chat. So what happens with these biases? We can all see that we've all been impacted by the representation of bodies we see. Even those existing in more stereotypical beauty standard bodies, they still feel pressure to either have to maintain it or still become smaller or change their body to maintain something in the same way. And what happens is these biases then turn into our belief systems, the things we tell ourselves about why we can't or shouldn't do things. And so I'm going to share with you the ones that have impacted my own personal business and how I got through it. So I remember crying to my husband one night. Okay, we've been married for like, I don't know, 7 years, whatever, it doesn't matter. We've been together a long time, so he's heard me like talk about like all this stuff, And I remember like crying one day, oh, I'm so sad. And he's like, what's wrong? Feelings, well. And I was like, well, I just read all these like success magazines and I follow all these like high level educators and and thought leaders, and none of them have bodies like mine. I have to lose weight to be successful. And he was like, really, Teri? So this is good. You always need somebody that's going to call you out on your shit, right? And he was like, really? What do you tell your clients? What do you tell your photographers? And they're like, oh, I can't do that. Nobody looks like me. Well, I tell them there's just enough room for somebody to look like you because there's other people that need you there. And he was like, exactly. So shut up. I was like, okay, fine. The next one, I'm not professional enough to charge enough. This one is still prevalent in my life today. As somebody that grew up as a fat kid in a large body, and I use the word fat in a neutral way, just an FYI, I forgot to say that at the beginning. But anyways, as somebody that grew up in a larger body, I've always felt that I've had to make up for the inconvenience that my body provides. And I'm sure there might be some other people out there that can feel what I'm talking about with this. In order to excuse the way my body looked, I would become funnier. I would give stuff to people. I would give myself to people as an excuse. And this has trickled into my business in that for the first, well, basically until the last 2 years, I wasn't able to receive money because I didn't think I deserved it because of my body. And I remember crying again to my mom, "Oh, Mom, nobody likes me. I can't charge this much because of the way I look and the way I dress." And that's a whole other thing because plus-size women's clothing is shit. So for us to even look professional is hard enough. Does that make sense? So we can't even, whatever professional looks like in our minds, we don't even have the options to be able to look like that. So then the way we dress literally filters in to confirm our beliefs about our bodies. But anyways, I'm crying to my mom, "Oh, I can't do it." And she was like, "Really, Teri? See, surround yourself with these people, I'm telling you." She's like, "Really? Of any profession, you're an artist. You can literally wear whatever you want as an artist and charge whatever you want. But more importantly, are people hiring you because of the way that you dress? And if they are, do you want those clients?" Nope. Because one time I did try to do when we do our promo videos and shit like that, I'm like, "Oh, I gotta dress professional. High heels, pencil skirt, not practical. Button-up shirt that pooked. If you got a chest, you know what I'm talking about. There's serious gaping." The whole time I was trying to pose people and because I don't wear heels, I can't walk in them. And then I had to get up on a step ladder. It was not good. I could not show up and serve the person or the video or whatever because I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, because I was trying to make up for what I am. So I learned very quickly that I had to change that. And now this last one, I don't belong here. And this one I really wanted to make a point of bringing up here because the first time in a long time I felt this was actually coming to WPPI or that week of WPPI and going out to parties. I would be in the hotel room with my model friends who were in, again, more Eurocentric beauty standard bodies. They had their bedazzled outfits, their high heels, their makeup done, all that good stuff. And my brain was like, "You don't look like anything like these people. You don't belong here." I was already stressed because of the social anxiety of having to go out to a party. And when we're stressed, all of our body insecurities just come right up to the top. To be honest, even coming to do this talk today, because I know this because I do some talks sometimes, that the night before or the morning of, I second guess everything I wear. I second guess, I'm like, "Oh God, my body. And as somebody that struggled with PCOS, I get facial hair growth on my chin. And I remember being one day I can't go up there like this, oh God. And then this little voice in my head said to me, "Is it gonna trip you on your way up to the stage?" No? Then it's not gonna get in your way, you're fine. Right? So eventually, if you hang around with those other people that are "Really?" your brain will start to do it for you. And so I had this really cool opportunity, and I thought, "Okay, body image educator, I don't have to worry about anything. I've solved it." Last fall, I got to go to the PortraitMasters shootout with Sue Bryce. And she's like, "Come and talk about body image and support people." And I was like, "Cool." 2 weeks before the event, she calls me up and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna be mad." I'm like, "Okay, first of all, who's gonna be mad at Sue Bryce, right?" But second of all, I was like, "Why?" And she said, "The biggest model they could get me for your shootout is a size 12. And I said, "Well, that's beautiful, but put me in." And I'm that person that I will put my hand up before my brain has the time to register what I'm doing. And I was like, "This is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be super great and cool." And then I show up, I roll in there with my $40 Shein dresses and my handmade robes and no makeup, no hairstyling, because that's how I do all my self-portraits. So I'm like, just do the thing. And I walk into the model room and immediately my brain says, "You don't fucking belong here." Because all around me were more stereotypically beautiful bodies, full faces of makeup, full beautiful hair, couture gowns, everything I wasn't. But again, my brain said, "Really, Teri? What are you doing?" And in that moment, I said, why are you here? Are you here? And then I had to answer myself. This is how my brain works, by the way. It's like a back and forth. But I had to answer myself. And I said, well, I'm here to show people that bodies like mine can be confident. And do you look confident right now with this thought that you're having? No, I don't. So what is a thought we can have that will make you confident to show them? Who are you here for? Why are you here? It's not about you at all. And so that really shifted a lot for me. And that week, we were voted best booth because it wasn't about what I wore, how I looked, any of that bullshittery that we're taught. It was about how I made people feel. And I had to get out of my own way. So here are some ways, and you can screenshot this or whatever you need to do. But these are new neural pathways I had to create, where the ones that were solidified from my younger years said, you can't do this because your body. You shouldn't do this because of your body. I had to, number one, understand these were not my beliefs to begin with. I did not come out of the womb thinking that my body was terrible. Somebody had to teach that to me, just like they taught all of you. Secondly, I had to understand these beliefs were not helping me become the person I want to become. I want to be someone that is loving of themselves. I want to accept my body. I want to do the things. I want to be successful. These beliefs are not helping me, so I need to change them. And number three, these beliefs made it all about me. I couldn't serve from a place of, oh, poor me, right? You can't do it. I remember sitting in consultations where I'd squeezed myself into clothes because I was too embarrassed to buy a size bigger. We have all been there. And so I wear these really tight-fitting clothes. Again, the pooking, the tightness, the constriction of it all. And I don't even remember talking to the client. Like, it literally in my head was a whole conversation of like, oh, they're thinking you're so fat. Oh, this is not good. Ooh, they probably think you're super unprofessional. Clearly, they did not book with me. I don't know why. But I wasn't listening to them because I was so busy focused on myself. I didn't tell them what they could expect from like having an amazing session with me because I was like, oh God, I hope they're not looking at my thighs because I chose to wear something too small, you know? It just wasn't helping me. So these are the new beliefs. So again, feel free to screenshot this if you have similar beliefs. Instead of very few high-level professional educators look like me, I changed it to that specialty needs somebody that looks like me. I said, I'm not professional enough to charge whatever amount of dollars. I had to understand my economical value, my business value, has nothing to do with my value as a human. And lastly, I don't belong here turned into, if I didn't belong here, I wouldn't be here. Now let's focus on why we are here. So that is how we kind of need to work through that. So that's enough about us. Now we're going to get into some good stuff. But before we do that, you're going to turn to the person next to you again real quick. We're not going to take a long time with this one. I want you to say, I have a body image bias to your person. And then you're going to say, you also have a body image bias. And then you're going to say, we all have body image biases. Okay, go. Yep, arms out. All of us. Perfect. You have body image biases. Yes. Good job. So now, how does this impact our client experience? We've talked about a little bit how it impacts us, but how does this end up impacting our businesses? I want you all to pull up Pinterest on your phones. I know you have your phones, so we're not trying to pretend. So if you don't have Pinterest on your phone, you can pull up Google. And we're going to have a little competition. Jill over here is my runner. So get it. So this is my momager again. This is Jill, everyone. So she has a little prize. And what we're going to do is you're going to simply type in the search bar, Boudoir. And I spelled it here just in case. Because we all know it's not Boudoir, Boudoir, Boudoir. Boudoir. Don't press enter yet, because I'm going to show you the next slide. I mean, you can press enter if you want to. The first person that finds 5 images, oh, look, I can see some people are like, go, that look like Jill, thin, blonde, brunette, Caucasian, 25 to 35, and able-bodied. You got to find 5. Put up your hands, put up your hands. Okay, we have a few keychains, so we can give them out. Sorry, we're going to stick to the front for this one. Don't worry, you got another chance. You got another chance. So you got to show Jill, your proof. I knew that one was, but it was fast, right? Sorry, only one person wins. Only one person wins this one. Sorry. Hands down, hands down. Sorry, but thank you. I love the enthusiasm. All right, so we're going to do this again. So scroll back up to the top of whatever your search thing is. And it's still Boudoir, so Boudoir. And now I need you to find any variation of 5 of these. Okay, go. Any 5. It has to be. You can't have typed in plus size boudoir. You can't have typed in anything else. And you have no. Do you have 5? Well, oh, is it mine? Okay, but it can't be just one image. It has to be 5 separate images of 5 diverse bodies. Oh, we got somebody up here. Sorry, friends at the back. Don't worry. If you come see me later for Q&A, you might get a keychain. Just saying. But not everyone, because I don't have that much. All right. So, no, she didn't have it. She didn't have it. Go, go. All right. Well, there was at the back, towards the back a bit more, from 5 different images. Hello, it's nice, but it's nice to see you again. I was like, I haven't seen you in forever. Wherever, somewhere over there. Pick someone. I don't care. The point is, it took us longer to find 5 marginalized bodies. Oh, close, but sorry. Close only counts in horseshoes, right? That's what they say. But the point is, the whole reason we did that was to show you how quick it is for us to see these and how much longer it takes us to find bodies that might look actually more like all of us in this room, except for Jill, because she was on that slide, so, you know. But if we know that biases are created from repetitive representation, what are we to understand about bodies that can do boudoir based on our search histories? We see more of one specific body type that we talked about at the beginning doing boudoir. It's harder for us to find. So now what do we think our potential clients think when we send them to Pinterest for inspiration, to create mood boards? How hard is it to find bodies that look like yours on Pinterest? I can tell you it's really hard to find bodies like mine on Pinterest. And what that does is it, again, confuses our brain, because then we see poses from one body, and our clients will come in and be like, I really love this pose. And we're like, okay, that looks great. That's their body. That's fantastic. But your body doesn't look like that. So the image might look different, which is what happens. So I went and did some self-portraits of photos that I loved of like more straight size models. Straight size is just not plus size, by the way. And I was like, look at me. But more importantly, I don't look like her. I look like me. But my body does look different. And so if I was a client that wasn't quite up to date with the body image stuff, I might say, well, I don't look like that. How come she's got a bigger gap between her arm and her body? How come her legs look so slim and mine don't? What is that about? Similarly with this one, I've got a bit of a bigger chest. You know, it's just there. But like, to do these poses, we see them on thin bodies, so they're not surprising or shocking. But all of a sudden we see bigger bodies doing these poses. Our brain's like, what? And those of us that like are like, yes, bodies, we're like, yeah, that's amazing. But then we have the other half of people that are like, oh, don't like that. That's uncomfortable. And so we see this with our clients. I purposely do this with clients. We see this, posing guides. We all have seen education up until probably this year for the most part, except if you had confident curves. Thank you, by the way. But you've really only seen those bodies on the left-hand side doing the poses. So when you see plus-size bodies doing the poses, your brain's like, nope, don't like that. Right? Similarly, your brain says, oh, yes, I remember this pose because we've seen this one multiple times on this body. So it's like, bink, check mark. When we see it with the body on the right, our brain says, oh, no, 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 no. Why is her tongue like that? She must hide that. She must put it away, because at the very beginning we learned that bigger is bad. But it's not bad. It's just different. And so we need to change the representation. Just because it's different or uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. And this is really important when we're working with our clients, when they're like, well, I don't look like that. Hey, I get it. You're used to seeing bodies like this do this, and your body doesn't look like that. But it's not bad. It's just different. That's literally what I tell my clients. So take out your phone again, and I'm going to do this one with you because it's fun. Okay, this is a fun one. Are you ready? Open your camera. Get excited. We're all going to take a selfie. Your own. You take your own. You don't have to take one with me. So, like, get the pot lights. You know, it's not great, but we'll make it work. Eye level or slightly above, and be like, WPPI, love it. Amazing. I'll get you all in it for mine. Okay, cool. Good? All right, we're going to take a second photo. You're going to bring your phone down here. And you're still going to smile because you're loving it. And you're going to take a picture. And you're going to be like, oh, who's that? Oh, love that. So between the two pictures, which picture did you like more? 1 or 2? Being honest. Why? Being honest.
My face doesn't look as round.
And what does that mean?
That means that it looks slender and that's bad.
Yes, exactly. Yay! You get a keychain just for, or did you get a keychain? Okay, we'll give that to someone else and then get another one. You agree, you say you're biased. Good. But here's the thing. Between picture 1 and picture 2, did you lose any accomplishments you've done in your life? No. Are you still the kind, loving, caring, beautiful, amazing human between picture 1 and picture 2? For the most part, I hope so. I don't know what magical stuff he's doing. But anyways, what angle do you think your children and pets see you at the most? 2. And do they love you any less because you have a double chin? No, because it's bullshit. Right? And now I am going to tell a little bit of an X-rated story just because it's funny, so I hope I don't get in trouble from WPPI. But anyways, so I was teaching the same concept to a group, and the lady was like, oh! And I was like, what? She's like, that's what my partner sees when I'm on top of him? And I was like, yeah, but does he stop fucking you? No, nobody cares. That's the point. But now we want to think of this. Those of you that are in Tinder, you've seen how men post their pictures. Down here. Or down here. But, right? But for women, we are usually here or here. Why? Oh, I hate that word. I'm gonna, by the end of this, if you say the word flattering, I'm just going to be like, throw it up. Representation. See, that's what we're working with. But we've been taught for women to photograph them, we must flatter them. That means slim down, make small, curvy in the right places. Am I wrong? No. For men, we're taught to flatter. They have to be strong and powerful and aggressive. Am I wrong? Okay. So in 2019, I did this beautiful project for the trans community in my city where I just said, hey, free photos for the trans community. And what I wasn't expecting was to get 50% of my applicants were non-binary trans folks. And in that moment, my heart sunk. Not because of them, but because up until that point, I knew how to pose a woman. I knew how to pose a man. I did not know how to pose a human. And I realized I was no different than that photographer that photographed me and cut out my stomach, essentially. My bias just showed up in a different form. It wasn't size bias, because that affects me directly. But it was different identities, right? I didn't consider that. So first I felt shame. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Then I felt guilt. Oh, fuck. But then I said, what am I going to do about it? The thing was, I'd been creating these images for all my clients, and while they were beautiful, I assumed, this is the thing, we assume what our clients want based on who they are. And then when they said, I want to be empowered, I was like, cool, we're going to put you in all the sexy poses, we're going to do the things, we're going to whatever. That doesn't empower everyone. I am an asexual person, which means, like, I just don't care about sex. It's not important to me. TMI maybe for y'all, but whatever. But with that, every time I'd have boudoir photos taken of myself, I'd be like, I mean, they're nice, but there's a disconnect. Because it's performative for me to look like that. Like, I was doing it to myself. My biases were impacting my own portraits. Once I started showing up more strong and powerful and masculine, if you go through my Instagram posts, you'll see that. Because that's what empowers me. I wasn't asking my clients, I was telling them. That's not empowerment. So we're gonna play a little game. Get excited. And okay, I need you to be super honest. And I will preface this with, you know how they tell you to like look at the audience and picture them naked when you're doing a talk? Y'all are about to see me naked, so prepare. All right, so I'm gonna show you 2 pictures. There's 3 slides with 2 pictures each. And I want you to be very honest. You don't have to say it out loud, just with yourself. If you had to choose between picture A and picture B, which one, honestly, are you going to share with your client? Right, why? It's hot, slimming, curvy in the right places. Is it flattering? It does. Why? Is it possible because of the copious amounts of representation of women's bodies are teaching us that that's the right way we should look? Right? But if I was a man, which one do you think would be okay? That's a problem. Between A and B, more skin for y'all. Which one? Why?
Because it's closer, your face.
I love the honesty, thank you. Beautiful. My body is still more aesthetically pleasing. Oh, okay. Beautiful. Okay, last one. Oh, there I am in all my bits. Oh, God. Ah, sorry, WPPI. I think this is what they were afraid of. But let's be honest. Is it A or B? Why? Yes, but what's missing? Right, we all know it. We've all heard it. Every single education. Even my first Confident Curves guide, if you have it. Thank you, by the way, again. I was like, if you want to hide the stomach, this is how you do it. I was doing the same thing. I was assuming that just because you have a tummy, you want it hidden. But guess what? Whether it's hidden or not, I'm the same fucking person. My tummy was there in B. You just don't see it, but it was there. It helped me do that. It helped me get through the door to do the photo shoot. So doesn't it deserve to be seen? So one isn't simply better. Again, it's just different. So now I know a lot of people will be like, okay, but we can't show our clients like all the photos, obviously. No, so what I do is if it comes down to an emotional image and my client's bits are on display, I'm going to choose emotion over body image. And the reason I do this, and this is literally word for word what I tell my clients before we do the reveal, I don't expect you to love every single photo I'm about to show you, but I want to let you know that somebody thinks those parts of you are worthy of being documented. And they're like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But the reality is they hear that. They may not choose those photos, but for a brief second, their belief about that part of themselves is changed. And then they get curious. Is it? It's not our job to write our clients' stories, but rather to help them write their own, asking them. So we're gonna chat. Okay, this one's gonna be real quick because we don't have much time, I don't think, sorry. Ah, shit, okay, real fast. All right, chat with the person next to you. How would your posing be different if you took away everything you've learned about bodies? Ready? Whoever you want to talk to, we'll do like 1 minute. Go! Thank you. Right? So I want you to actually take this question home with you, and throughout the week, if you're doing shootouts, workshops, things like that, I want you to consider when you're working with the model, if I took away everything I know about bodies, what would I do with this person? All right, I'm gonna move now, so you better take your picture. Okay. So now what the hell do we do with all this information? This is the thing, action steps, my favorite. We want to challenge your biases through curiosity, my favorite, compassion, also good, education, and empathy. These are my values, so naturally I'm going to teach you these. Curiosity, again, is simply the act of asking questions. It does not mean you have to take action. And yes, thank you for taking pictures. I was going to suggest this. You also will have access. There's something coming up with a QR code for you. You'll get access to the presentation slides. I think I can do that. I'm doing it, so whatever. All right. So, but that way you can refer back to these questions if you need to. Number one, what do I believe about my body and how does this impact what I do with my clients? Are you not a fan of your double chin and you put hair around your client's chin a lot? Yes. Yeah, good. Hands. Gotta hide that. Get rid of it. But they didn't ask for that. Thank you for honesty. Right? But ask that question. Again, you don't have to change anything, and we'll get to why in a minute. But I just want you to start asking these questions. What self-talk am I using, and what impact does this have on my biases and beliefs about bodies? And I know we're all at different stages of our body image journeys, and that's totally cool and amazing and awesome, and that's how it should be. But I want you to be very aware of what you say to yourself. Because I know while you probably wouldn't say that about a client, your brain is still processing that information and adding into the biases and beliefs. What bodies am I forgetting in my portfolio? This one, I actually, at first I was like, look at me, so diverse, good me. But I had somebody reach out and say, excuse me, you don't photograph anyone over 65? And I was like, of course I do. Yes, they just don't sign model releases. We've all been there. People with plus size bodies. Oh yeah, no, I shoot them. They just don't want to sign model releases. That's not fucking true, right? I assumed that they wouldn't. So I took it to heart instead of getting defensive out loud. And I said, yeah, she's right. I looked objectively at my Instagram. No bodies that were over 65 or looked whatever we assume it looks like. And so I had to do model calls. And I did literally, I photographed like 15 people to say like, yeah, let's do this. And I did it for free. I don't do the salesy one. I did it for free or paid if you want them to really sign a model release. If I look at my Instagram feed, do I notice that I showcase a specific type of bodies over others? And be honest with yourself. In a 9-grid square, I mean, mine are mostly myself now, but if you look at your clients, are you seeing a trend? And be honest with yourself. What education am I investing in, and what do the models and educators tend to look like? It's easy to pose bodies that we've seen posed over and over and over again because there is a structure for that, because it's all we've ever known. I encourage you to challenge yourself this week and shoot with people in different bodies and look at them differently than trying to force them into the same way that you would with smaller bodies. Why do I edit the way that I do? For myself, this was an important question. When I first started, my whole purpose was to just diversify the bodies I was putting in my portfolio. And so I said, you know what? If a promise of a little skin smoothing will help people come in the door for the first time in 35 years, I'm gonna do it. But then, around 2020, because of pandemic stuff, but also there was a disconnect between me photoshopping. And I started to realize a big part of that was now there was more photographers in my city photographing diverse bodies. Amazing, that's what I wanted. And they were photoshopping. So now I don't have to do that. So as of 2020, I stopped photoshopping my client's skin or retouching their skin. Because now I'm on what I call Empowerment 2.0. Right, let's bring them back home. Why do I pose the way that I do, which we kind of just talked about? Being honest with yourself. Do I pose to flatter? Or do I pose to get emotion? Or because of what my client told me they want? Why do I consider certain images better than others? Go through and figure out how you cull. Literally, next time you go through a gallery, be honest with yourself. Why am I choosing this photo? And just, you don't have to do anything about it. Just collect the information. Why do I suggest the wardrobe I do? Who here loves a good baby doll? Oh yeah, that's not surprising. Okay, we got one, good. So here's the thing, when I first started, I was like, no baby dolls. Why? They're not what? Flattering. What does that mean? They make bodies look bigger. Here's the thing, if my client puts that baby doll on and feels so confident and so strong and so sexy, who am I to say otherwise? Right? It is not my job to tell them what wardrobe does that. And I had to learn that after like 4 years, that it's not my job. I can educate and say, well, here's why we recommend bodysuits or whatever the thing is. But ultimately, I'm not going to tell them what they should or should not wear. I do still say don't wear jerseys, but that's a whole other thing. This last one is really important. How do I talk about bodies in photographers groups versus on my blog or website or in my Facebook groups with clients? We see so many times people using, oh my God, I totally just shot this plus size beauty. You're probably not going to post that in your client group or in your blog. Why do you feel necessary to do it in photographers groups? Do you want a trophy? You're not getting it. But the thing is, when we use those disclaimers, the bias is towards the bodies that don't need them. That tells us what is normal and not normal. We see the bodies that don't need to be told. That's why when I said boudoir client, you all pictured relatively the same image, was because that's what we've been taught is the norm. To normalize normal bodies, we have to stop saying that when we show bodies. We just have to show them. We have to stop being like, look at me, I'm so good for normalizing this, and just say, look it, here is a client. The end. And eventually, it will start creating pathways. The last question with curiosity, what is my mission with my work and how do these answers serve it? This is the most important question because of the next slide. Because at this point, people are like, oh my God, Teri's telling me I'm a bad person because I Photoshop and liquefy my clients. Not true. We need photographers at every stage. I just want you to be clear on the words you're using and the actions you're taking. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone? So now let's move on to compassion. Okay, feely stuff. All right, so now we're curious. All this stuff come up and we're like, oh, fuck, shit, you know. Now we want to recognize that, hey, I'm not a bad person, right? I've just been conditioned to think a certain way about certain bodies. So it's going to be natural for us to have these biases and beliefs, and we do slip up. But every time we slip up and we recognize that we're creating a new neural pathway, get excited, you're changing your brain. So now these are some affirmations I use for compassion when I'm going through the growing process. Changing is never simple, but it's easier if I stop being hard on myself. My mistakes just show that I'm growing and learning. And I release myself with forgiveness from today and move forward with self-love to tomorrow. Education. Learn stuff, okay? We want to learn from people who have different life experiences than we do. This includes books, music, movie, TV shows, all that good stuff. Every content we consume, who is it coming from? And I want you to literally go home and say, like, yeah, let me look who I'm following. Do they look like me? Do they have similar life experiences to me? And if so, how can I diversify? And guess what? I have an answer for that, but hold on. I want you to use questionnaires and consultations to ask more questions than to tell our clients what to expect. Because what this does is this helps you, number one, understand, are you the best photographer for their needs? I've had to turn clients away that desperately wanted Photoshop. And I was like, can I do it? Yes, but I'm not gonna. So here's a list of cool people that can help you out and give you an amazing experience. But it also helps us understand a little more about what will empower our clients, right? Again, we assume they just want to feel sexy. What is sexy? That's such a broad term. So getting really clear with them, when was the last time you felt sexy is a good question. What is an outfit you wear that makes you feel confident is a good question. What is the last thing you did for yourself that benefited nobody else that made you feel empowered? This will give you insight into actions, posing, things you can try. Maybe they'll be like, oh, I used to dance when I was 9. Amazing. We're going to make you dance. All right. And lastly, start following accounts of bodies that look and experience the world differently than you do. I mentioned earlier on that I struggle with PCOS, which is facial hair growth. I started following people that have embraced their facial hair because it helps me see that you can be successful and joyful and loving to counteract the beliefs that my brain tells me otherwise. So feel free to screenshot or go to the QR code. It'll take you to all the resources that will help you. Empathy! Education leads to empathy because now you have a better understanding of the person in front of you. Now we can prepare for their potential anxieties that we would never have even considered. Furniture. Let me tell you, the amount of furniture that I have side-eyed in my life, those spindly-ass lawn chairs, airplane seats, you get it. But the thing is, we want to make sure that our furniture is accommodating of larger bodies. This might not be something you've thought of because you might not have a larger body, and that's okay. That's why I'm telling you. Body talk. Have an open policy about negative body talk. I used to shut it down on my clients. Oh no, we just talk positively here. No, that doesn't help anything. That makes them feel bad about feeling bad. Instead, now I put my camera down and say, oh, let's talk about that. Why do you feel this way? Where'd you learn that? Blah, 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 blah. Ability. Ah, my God, guys. Okay, so the amount of times I've been in Facebook groups, and people have been like, oh my God, I have somebody in a plus-size body. What do I do? It is really devastating for somebody existing in a plus-size body, really, to see that, even as a photographer. The thing is, we don't need necessarily different posing. We just need to see different bodies in those poses, okay? So it's not different. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, my lady. But also, we have to be aware that if they can't do those poses, they can still be sexy as shit. Right? Your job, the first time I had a client come in that was in a wheelchair, that I was like, oh God, what do I do? Same thing that we all do, right? And I was like, what do I do? How do I do this? I can't do my normal posing flows. Ah! And I was like, wait, what is my whole purpose? My purpose is to make her feel good, feel empowered. So let me ask her what makes her feel good and feel empowered, right? It's not about the pose. It's about how you make people feel. Pronouns. Simply respect people's pronouns. It's really easy. Ask them in a questionnaire. Super easy. Wardrobe. Oh, please. If you're carrying a wardrobe, make sure it's size inclusive. Upwards of a size 6X, 7X, or even higher. And make sure you have equal amounts in sizes. And this one's really important because, trust me, those of us that exist in larger bodies have settled into Forever 21 and made our way to the very dark back corner with the one flickering fluorescent light and like our assortment of beige t-shirts. It's really sad, and it reaffirms your beliefs about your body. So what we want to do, because we want to empower our clients, is we can show up for them and say, do not worry, I got you. Hair and makeup. If you offer hair and makeup, oh, sweet baby Jesus, please make sure that your studio is equipped to handle different colors and textures of hair and skin. Please, oh please, oh please. This is so important. I've had clients come in and they're like, oh my God, you know how to like work with my skin tone? Well, not me, I don't do makeup, but my makeup artist. And we're like, what? And the one client, she's like, yeah, the last photo shoot experience I had, they had to take test packets and try to make it match my skin tone. Is that a luxury experience? Nah. Just because it isn't a problem for you doesn't mean it isn't a problem. So the more education we can have from different bodies, the more empathy we can have for those lived experiences. And again, while all bodies experience body image insecurity, not all experience oppression. Oppression is different than insecurity, okay? That means we can't get the same access to health care, or we don't get paid as much, or whatever, stuff like that. So it's really important. And now at this point, we're almost done. But Teri, people just want to see themselves in the best light and have beautiful photos of themselves. Listen, I agree. This is true. However, here's some stats. 82% of people polled said they have anxiety about inquiring with photographers because of their body shape, size, color, sexual orientation, or gender expression. That's 82% of people that are going to go without a photographic documentation of their lived amazing life because they don't think anybody will respect it. 70% of people polled have not booked with someone whose work they loved, I see the typo, don't worry, because they never saw themselves represented on their website or social media. That's wild. They love the work. They're like, I would love to go to this photographer. But then they're like, oh, but they don't work with people like me. That's a problem. So I'm just going to condense these because they were all the same people in the poll, essentially. 97% of people felt better about their bodies when they saw diverse bodies being represented. They felt better about their skin texture when they saw skin texture. They felt better about their body hair when they saw body hair. They felt better about their stretch marks when they saw stretch marks. That's amazing. And now if none of that does it for you and you're like, okay, but money. 88% of photographers polled said they saw an increase in bookings and revenue when they started showcasing a variety of bodies on their website, in their social media, and in their samples. So maybe we just have to expand what we're making beautiful mean. Beauty does not have a one-size-fits-all definition, despite what we've been told and sold. Everybody is worthy of being documented. We know this. We believe it. But now I want us to see it. I thank you. And now, I don't know how much time we have, but let's quickly do a Q&A. Okay, Jill, go get your microphone. Go, go. Yeah.
I want to say, sure, I can help you out, but can I, like, bring them in service by saying that?
No. You can use that statement that I had. Oh, I'm not going to go. It's all in the back of the middle. Say, listen, listen, I don't want to celebrate or vilify your stomach. It may show up in an image or it may not. Like, I'll take that into consideration. But I don't expect you to love all the photos. That's impossible for the most part. I just want you to know that I think that it's worthy of being photographed. And it's about that education before they come in for the shoot. And again, deciding, does this align with why I do what I do? Blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense? Oh, no, fuck, I definitely would. But I would set that in, but I say that in the consultation so they can be empowered to decide if I'm the best photographer for them. Because I explain why they might see their stomach. So I'll say, you might see it, you might not, but my job isn't really to take it out or put things in. It really is to capture the day we had together. And if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. Does that make sense? And then at that point, they can be like, oh, wow, yeah, I never thought of it like that. Here's all my money. Or they might be like, actually, you might not be the photographer for me. That's okay. Does that help? 100%. Show them both. I show both. Yeah, because like sometimes they'll just have turned, but they're like, like a perfect emotion. And I'm like, I'm not going to take that out just because their tum's out. And then what you can say is, let me help you correlate that you felt sexy and your stomach was there. They are not exclusive. This will help change your neural pathways. You can say that. Does that make sense? So show both. Next.
Hi, okay.
Oh, wait, I hear a microphone. Where is it? Oh, right here, sorry. Here.
Sorry, you're good, you're good.
You'll get next.
I guess my question is, how do you approach clients that have like age bias, like in both ways, where they're like, oh, I'm too old to do this, or I want to do this now before I get old. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so a big thing is, number one, to have samples to show. Because one of the things you don't want to do is, if you're younger, be like, oh, I totally get it. You don't. It's like a thin person telling me like, oh, I know, body image. And I'm like, it's not really the same. But what you can say is, hey, that's a common concern that a lot of clients have had in the past. Let me show you a sample of Janessa over here and her beautiful shoot. Here's her testimonial that she gave me. Does that make sense?
I love it.
Did that answer that question? Sometimes I get going, so you have to just be like, did she answer it? All right, there was a question, black shirt right in the middle, glasses, turn, yeah.
Okay, so I had one client, absolutely beautiful business owner, did the shoot, everything, and then at the reveal, she decided she hated all of them. So what are some things that I can do in client education beforehand? I mean, it really hit me off guard because I've never in 10 years had a client walk out and say, I don't like any of these. I don't like myself.
That's a very great question. And so there's been two instances where that's happened to me. And the one, obviously, I was like, the fuck? But then that's where it's really important for you as the photographer to recognize that it's not about you. Oh, sorry. It's not about you or the photos you took. So this is where being a cocky little bitch kind of helps, to be honest. So I set expectations with clients before they see their gallery. And I say, listen, at this point, if you're seeing these photos, they're pretty good. And if you have issues with them, it might have more to do with your body image than it does. Make sure your work is good before you say this, right? But like consistently, I've proven that my work is good, so I can say that. But then I will say, so if you have an issue with the images, I would love for us to talk about it. And you don't have to have answers for your clients. This is the thing, lots of us think we need answers, but rather just give them space to talk about it. In another instance, I had a client where I actually just stopped the reveal altogether and I sent them home with the image they had the biggest struggle with for free. And I said, I want you to look at this photo every single day, and I want you to journal about it and write it, and just pay attention to what your brain is telling you, and then ask these questions. Are you ready? Who taught me that? Write these down. Okay, who taught me that? Do I want to continue believing it? And is this helping me be the person I want to be? And usually those 3 questions, after repetitive exercise, will help them work through to understand. The other thing you have to understand too is, like I mentioned right at the beginning of the presentation, is when we're stressed, our body image issues are at the top. So if you can bring your client's blood pressure down before they see their images, they're going to be in a much better state of mind to actually look critically, in a nice way, at themselves and let their emotions just take over. Does that make sense? So when you have the client there and they're like, I don't like my photos, let's talk about it. What specifically are you having a hard time with? Do you work with a therapist? No, I honestly do that. I think it's important. And I ask this actually sometimes before they come in for the shoot, if I'm getting, feelings that they have actual body dysmorphia, that it is like debilitating, anorexia, bulimia, stuff like that. I will literally tell them, okay, I will still take you on as a client, but I want to make sure that we're working with your therapist as we go through this process. Or I will say, you know what, I don't think seeing the photos is going to be helpful for you, so I will sometimes just do the photo shoot. Because the photo shoot is their first feeling of empowerment. And then there's no reveal. Does that make sense? So there's different ways that you can handle it, but the biggest thing is listening to your clients. Does that help? Okay.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Which one?
You said, who taught me that?
Oh, who taught me that? Do I want to continue believing it? Wait, yes. And what is a new, is this what I said? What is a new thought that I can have that will help me be the person I want to be? That's another question if I didn't say that one. I don't remember. My brain is mushy right now. I see kind of a hand or a head scratch. Okay, sure. Where are we going? Perfect.
Hi, I'm Kate. But you actually answered that was a packed full answer that
Perfect.
answered like 2 of my questions.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right next door. I like it. You just talk.
We just talk.
We just talk. Yeah. Nice radio voice, by the way. Oh, she's opening the door back there. Hurry up. Okay,
All right.
go.
Okay. Could you give me let's say 3 questions that will prep you for success with those clients that would help them
Get ready for the reveal?
No, for the photo shoot. Those
Oh,
questions.
for the
what
photo
questions should I ask that would help me?
Yeah, to get them ready.
Yeah.
So I have a very in-depth questionnaire that I send my clients. But I usually will say, talk me through your body image journey. So I send this in a questionnaire because I'm not really good at small talk. So this way, some people will say, it's not that bad, and that's it. And then other people, it's like a novel. And you're like, okay, there that is. All right, I know everything about you. Perfect. So that one is really helpful. And then the other ones I ask them is say, what is one word that you want to feel in your shoot today that's not body related? So, and I give examples, liberated, joyful, stuff like that. And that helps me kind of say, okay, cool, when was the last time you felt liberated? Because if you don't know what it feels like, how do you know what it's going to look like, right? And then break that down for them. Well, what are you expecting joyful to look like? Because then they'll be like, well, here's pictures that I've been taught it should look like. Okay, but what if you don't look like that when we see the photos? What's going to happen? Is it possible that we can work on that together? Yes. Oh, great. I love this. Does that help? Was that enough questions? Was that 3, 4, 5? Yeah, those are the main ones that I ask, though, that help me figure it out. You can also ask topical questions. What fabrics make you feel good? To build a set or to help them steer them towards garments or things like that. The biggest thing is they just want constant hand-holding, right? And to know that you're in their corner for whatever they need from you. And again, if you can't provide that, there's nothing wrong with referring them out. Be okay to do that. We have a mic over here, and then you'll have to run back over here. Okay, what is our time? Oh, Craig's got the sheep hook. He's pulling me off the stage. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do is I will stay back, and then you can come ask questions personally to me for the next 10 minutes. Does that sound good? Okay, and then, I don't even have a thing for where you can find me, but ask Craig, he'll help you. Thank you, everyone. You were amazing. All right.